Simple Tales presents The Selfish Giant from the literary fairy tale of Oscar Wilde. Every afternoon, after school had ended, a group of children would gather in a beautiful garden. It belonged to a giant. The garden was filled with soft green grass, flowering trees, and singing birds. In the spring, blossoms painted the branches with shades of pink and white. In summer, the trees offered cool shade. In autumn, golden leaves drifted through the air. The children loved it. They played games upon the grass, climbed the trees, and laughed together until the sun began to set. It was the happiest place they knew. But the giant was away. For many years he had been visiting a friend in a distant land. Then one day he returned home. As he entered his garden, he saw the children playing among the trees. "What are you doing here?" he roared. The frightened children ran away. "This is my garden," said the giant. "No one may play here except me."
The giant was not cruel by nature, but he cared too much about what belonged to him. He built a high stone wall around the garden. Then he placed a sign upon it: "Trespassers will be prosecuted." From that day forward, the children could no longer enter. They wandered sadly along the roads outside the wall. Often they stopped and looked through small cracks in the stone. "How happy we were there," they would say. Soon winter arrived. But something strange happened. Spring came to the countryside beyond the wall. Flowers bloomed, trees blossomed, birds sang. Yet inside the giant's garden, winter remained. Snow covered the grass. Frost painted silver patterns across every branch. The north wind roared through the trees. Hail rattled against the ground. The giant watched from his window.
"I do not understand," he said. "Why is spring so late this year?" Days passed, then weeks, but winter refused to leave. The giant grew increasingly puzzled. Outside the wall, the world was alive with colour. Inside the garden, everything remained cold and silent. One morning, the giant awoke to a sound he had not heard for a very long time. A bird was singing. Its song was so sweet that he sat upright in bed. For a moment, he thought spring had finally arrived. The giant hurried to the window. What he saw filled him with wonder. During the night, the children had found a small opening in the wall. They had slipped back into the garden. The moment they returned, the garden began to change. Children sat beneath the trees. Birds sang among the branches. Blossoms covered the limbs. The grass turned green once more. Everywhere a child played, spring had returned. The giant watched in amazement. Then he noticed one corner of the garden where winter still lingered. There stood a small boy. He was trying to climb a tree, but he was too small to reach the lower branches. The tree longed to bloom like the others. Its branches bent low, trying to help him, yet the boy could not climb. The child stood beneath the tree, close to tears. For the first time, the giant felt something he had not felt before. He saw the sadness in the little boy's face. He saw the tree trying to help. And he suddenly understood why spring had avoided his garden. The problem had never been the seasons. The problem had been himself. My garden has been lonely because I have been selfish, he said quietly. The giant left the house and walked into the garden. When the children saw him, they became frightened and ran away. As they fled, winter returned to the places they left behind. Only the small boy remained. He had not seen the giant approaching. The giant gently lifted him into the tree. At once, blossoms burst across its branches. Birds began singing. The tree was covered in flowers. The little boy smiled. Then he wrapped his arms around the giant's neck and kissed him. The giant's heart softened completely. He looked around at the empty garden. Then he turned toward the children, watching from outside the wall. "No longer," he said, "will this garden belong only to me." Taking a great hammer, he knocked down the wall. Stone after stone fell to the ground. Soon the garden stood open to everyone. The children returned, and with them came spring. From that day onward, the giant shared his garden freely. The children played there every afternoon. The giant joined them often. He became their friend. Years passed. The giant grew old. He spent much of his time sitting beneath the trees, watching the children play. Though he loved them all, he often thought of the little boy he had lifted into the tree. He never saw him again. Many years later, on a winter morning, the giant looked out his window and saw something extraordinary. In the far corner of the garden stood the little boy. The tree around him was covered with white blossoms, though it was winter. Golden light seemed to surround him. The giant hurried outside. As he approached, he noticed marks upon the boy's hands and feet.
The giant was troubled. "Who has hurt you?" he asked. The boy smiled. "These are the wounds of love." The giant fell silent. Then he recognized that this was no ordinary child. The boy looked kindly upon him. "You once allowed me to play in your garden," he said. "Today, you shall come with me to my garden." And the giant understood. When the children arrived later that day, they found the giant resting peacefully beneath the tree, covered in white blossoms. His long life had come to an end, but his heart had long since found peace. A heart closed by selfishness may seem strong, but it becomes cold and lonely. When kindness and generosity are allowed to enter, life flourishes once again. If you enjoyed this tale, please like, subscribe, and share Simple Tales. There are many more legends waiting to be told.